easiest, and they're normally the most exciting of our categories. It's Ian Curley, former British Touring Car driver, who starts alongside Aaron Smith, who is not a former British Touring Car driver, even though there was a driver of a similar name at one point. In fact, still is, isn't there? Rupert Deeth starts on row 2 alongside Kane Aston, with Phil Bullen-Brown and Jeff Smith, former British Touring Car racer, starting on row 3. Elliot Stafford and Rick Turner are on the 4th row, ahead of Colin Peacock, veteran of Mini Miglia Racing, and Sam Summerhays, who was a winner last time out at the season opener at Brands Hatch. For whatever reason, struggled in qualifying yesterday. He's one to watch for sure. Joe Thompson is next, ahead of Sean King. Then it's Nick Paddy and Matthew Ayres, with Steve Yule and Damien Harrington on row 8. Row 9 for Rob Howard and Tony LeMay, with Paul Cobbing and Thorburn Astin, who we've seen racing in the BMW 1 Series Super Cup yesterday, and presumably again later on today. Well, he's set to take the start from 20th position, but didn't actually set a time in qualifying yesterday, so we'll see whether or not he makes it. Then there'll be a gap and a slightly delayed start before we get to the Mini Libras. Peter Hills was on pole position there, ahead of Andrew Hack, only about 4/10 between them in qualifying. Julian Proctor and Steve Baker make up the second row, with Phil Harvey and Hugh Turner at the back of the grid. So a very healthy grid of Melias, actually one of the bigger grids of Melias I've seen for a little while, proving that it's still got plenty of life in it, this championship, and it continues to attract new drivers. But as you'd expect, the veterans of Mini Miglia Racing at the front. Ian Curley, who at Brands Hatch struggled a little bit in the second race, but he did finish second in race 1 behind Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith won the first race from Ian Curley second, and third position Jeff Smith. Race 2, Sam Summerhays got the win, with Kane Aston second position, and third Phil Bullen-Brown. So we had 2 races and 6 different drivers filling out the podium places across those 2 races. So very competitive stuff from the Melias at the season opener, which I believe was at Brands Hatch. In the Libra class, Hugh Turner won the first race, and Richard Colburn won race number 2, but Richard didn't finish the first race, and so Hugh Turner arrives here at Snetterton with the early championship lead. So another category of racing that you'd say are very, very effective on slipstream heavy racetracks, and that's what we've got here at Snetterton. The Mini 7s yesterday, Scott, were entertaining enough. The Melias, if anything, have all of the ingredients to be even more exciting.
Basically take Mini 7 racing and turn it up to 11, because these are even quicker and even more, arguably even more intense when it comes to how fast they can be. And on a circuit like this, when it is the 200 layout, slipstreams are plenty. But we saw, if you watched yesterday, if you didn't, where were you? Go and watch back if you can at some point during my lunch break, the Mini 7 racing yesterday. It was proper back and forth stuff between the top 4 cars, and they broke up a little bit, top 5 at one point. But of course, these cars are quicker, they've got wider arches, they're proper old school modified looking minis, and they do put on incredible racing as wherever they go, whether they're on the support package for BTCC or at events with us at BRSCC or anywhere other club where they go and race. They're very much an independent club, but they go and pull track time where they can, how they can, and they do tend to go and support the British Touring Car Championship on a couple of occasions, particularly when they've watched the race at Thruxton. Has been particularly high, like watching them go back and forth, but it has been just high speed back and forth. Again, this is another championship where, to go to your affection and what you like, it's very much like micro NASCAR racing, particularly with minis and with city cars, and of course the Fun Cup yesterday. This is a circuit that is conducive to that kind of racing, and these guys should, again, like their 7 brethren did yesterday, put on quite a show. At least we hope they will.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident they will. It's a 20-minute race, but in essence it's the last 90 seconds or so that really matter, isn't it? Because that's where you need to position yourself in the best place possible to make the move, probably on the last lap, to get to the lead and try and get to the line first. The first 18.5 minutes are essentially a dress rehearsal for the final lap, where you figure out what your plan is going to be. We sometimes see drivers working together to try and pull away at the front of the field, but not all that often is that successful. And with the strength and depth in the grid this year in particular, I think it's going to be almost impossible, really, to pull any sort of a gap. The first second in qualifying covered the top 11 cars, which on a minute and 20 odd lap is pretty impressive stuff, it has to be said. Ian Curley then, who those with good memories will remember from his brief stint in the British Touring Car Championship, driving, amongst other things, a green Lexus, I seem to recall, at one point, which is quite a long way away from a Mini Miglia, rear-wheel drive touring car, which wasn't necessarily the most well-developed car, but Ian enjoyed his stint in the Championship, did a bit of one-mate racing, actually, on the Toka package as well, back in the early 2000s, I seem to recall, but has now very much made a home for himself in Mini Miglia racing.
He has, indeed. One thing I was going to point out also is the fact, look at the Championship, come back to that in a second, but look at the Championship fight. After the first round, we have a 3-way tie for the lead in Mini Miglias. It's Kane Aston, Aaron Smith, Sam Summerhays and Kane Aston, all left Donington Park on 36 points apiece. I've never seen that after the first round, where you have three people leading the championship after one event, which is pretty fascinating. And just behind them, you've got Phil Bullen Brown on 32 and Ben Colbert on 30. As for the Ian Curley we mentioned, who's quite experienced, he was back in, comes to the weekend 7th. And Rupert Deek, defending champion, car number 1, only 9th. Not a great weekend at Donington Park for him, but he'll try and redeem himself where he can. Although, having said that, Deek is starting this first race from 4th on the grid. So from the second row, got a chance to push forward if he can. But it should be quite fascinating to see how these cars pick their way through. The Libras also have their own run. They're not run to Mini Miglia specs. They're running more like an open class in some cases. And there's a few of them in the mix, about 6 or 7. So we'll see what they can do. And there's quite a few of the even more experienced drivers that are lining up towards the back in that category as well.
Yes, indeed so, and Hugh Turner, the championship leader in that category, was the slowest of the 6 in qualifying, so again, slightly topsy-turvy when it comes to looking at the form book in the Mini Libra class. The grid then more or less in position, and on the front row of the grid, Ian Curley there, the sort of Union flag liveried car on the left of shot, with Aaron Smith alongside him in car 21. Who's going to get the whole shot? Who's going to lead the charge into Rich's corner for the first time? We're about to find out. The red lights go out now, and away we will go. Very evenly matched start from the front row starters, and the whole pack actually accelerates away at once. The Libras accelerating with the Mini Miglias, and they are led by Aaron Smith. By Ian Curley. Smith slots into 2nd position. Deeth comes up into 3rd, and then that's Kane Astin in 4th position. That is not the order they will be in, probably in half a lap's time, I would imagine, down towards the Wilson hairpin for the first time of asking, and it's pretty orderly stuff at the front. They're 3 abreast further back. I think Jeff Smith is that's the 68 car, in the middle of all of that. That was very congested through the first couple of corners, but they're all cleanly through, and now the slipstream starts to take effect. Curley leads, but for how long?
Yeah, pretty orderly and 3 wide into Montreal hairpin. Doesn't really go together.
That was pretty orderly, I thought.
By Mini 7 standards. I'll take your word for it. Side by side then, change for the lead as goes Aaron Smith. From Curley in 2nd place, Deeth up into 3rd. So it's 21, 2 and 1s that come out of Brundle Nelson. Kane Astley's been a long time racer in this champion in 4th position. Swinging their way through. And then the Libras will come through further back on top of that. I think one of the Libras there. Oh, one car's gone shortcutting. That is 80 that's gone shortcutting, which would have been Joe Thompson, who, of course, he's moved up from Mini 7s to Mini Miglias. He's been a former champion there too. So Joe trying to find his feet in Miglias, and already in this 3rd event of the races, Aaron Smith clips the curb on those big, huge new curbs on the inside of Murray's that they installed over the winter, which has been catching drivers out like we did yesterday a couple of times. But yeah, Joe Thompson getting a bit of a baptism of fire so far this season in Mini Miglia. It's not quite the same pace he was hoping for as he experienced in 7s.
No, had a couple of top 10 finish, in fact a top 5 in the 2nd race last time out. There's a car in the barriers there, driver out but catching their breath slightly, and that might require a safety car. That's
into Ritchie's, and that's quite an odd place to be at Ritchie's, but the driver's also standing up against the barrier and was looking like he was a bit winded, which I hope he's okay. That's the main thing on that side. Now, I would constitute that might well, there's yellow flags down there of course, but I would constitute that might well need a safety car.
Yes, well there are 3 cars that haven't made it round at the end of the opening lap. One is in the pit lane, that's the 595 of Julian Proctor. They're all, I think, Libra cars actually that haven't made it through. The other 2, the 126 car of Peter Hills and the 115 of Steve Baker. Meanwhile, we're 3 abreast for the race lead. Calm down, Scott, this is going to be the norm for the next 17 and a half minutes, I think. It's Ian Curley who's got the advantage, with Deeth now 2nd, and Aaron Smith drops down to 3rd. Kane Astin makes it a 4-way fight for the lead, and there is one, unfortunately, of our retirees to the pit lane, Julian Proctor.
Back out, that is the 115 of Steve Baker. Back out, that is the 115 of Steve Baker. So that's come in and come back out again. So the one that's had the problem, of course, is 595 Julian Proctor.
Yes, and all 3 of the cars in strife on the opening lap were Libras, so I suspect there's been a bit of a tangle through the first corner, hasn't there? And that's what's led to, unfortunately, a car in the wall. But as you said, driver absolutely fine, it would seem. A little bit winded, but quite a bit of damage done to the back of the car, so it's gone in backwards into the wall, halfway round the inside of Rich's corner. That's a very odd place to have an accident, but on a very congested run through the first couple of corners there on lap 1, I suppose, always a possibility. So the race neutralised for now. Hopefully won't take too long though to get that car out of the way, and we will get a resumption to racing here at Snetterton. Aaron Smith sort of taking stock of the situation, the early race leader, and is that Aaron Smith in the front of the queue though? That's Ian Curley, is it not? So yes, that is Ian Curley, isn't it? Aaron Smith
is now 3rd.
Yes, I'm not seeing things here, am I? His name is definitely the top of the timing tower. I just doubted myself for a second, but yeah, Aaron Smith, for whatever reason, since crossing the line, has dropped down to...
Third place.
No, that timing tower is wrong. That's what it is. Ian Curley on the timing screen was the leader. So we've got a slight glitch in the timing system. And now the race being red flagged anyway, so it's all a little bit irrelevant. There may well be a bit of damage to the barrier, maybe some fluid that needs to be cleared up as well. So rather than eating into the race distance indefinitely, we're going to have a red flag, race stoppage, and give the marshals their full freedom to head out onto the track and deal with the incident, and then hopefully get a resumption to racing before too much longer. So that's a shame. A race that was bubbling away nicely there over the couple of laps that we did have, and it will be, I would imagine, a restart from original grid positions, because we hadn't completed... No, we had completed 2 laps. We had completed 2 laps, hadn't we? So we'll wait and see what race control decides to do. There's a fairly complex process now that has to be gone through to ascertain what order they are going to take the restart in. Or we could well see a situation, as I've seen a couple of times this year, where a race is actually restarted behind the safety car. It seems to be a new... maybe not a new regulation, but a new process that is available to race control. It happened in a TCR race a week ago at Croft. Actually, we had a red flag, and then rather than regridding them, back in original grid order, they just paused the race, restarted it behind the safety car, and then after 1 lap behind the safety car, the race carried on as if nothing had ever happened. And it gets rid of that slightly complicated situation where you have 2 halves to a race, and the first half essentially didn't happen. It's just a pause in the race. I quite liked it, and I wonder whether that's going to be the same thing that happens here, because none of the cars, look, are pulling into their grid positions. They're lining up in a long queue behind the safety car, which suggests to me that might be what happens. We'll wait and see. There's Ian Curley's car then, immaculately prepared as ever. He's just having a chat with the marshals there, who are letting him know what the situation's going to be, and Ian Curley with a little bit of work to do then upon the restart of the race. There's Rupert Deeth's all black, very ominous looking all black number 1 car behind, and Rupert Deeth gives us a little wave. That's nice to see. Aaron Smith in behind him, and Aaron Smith, who was a winner in the first race of the season at Donington Park, is very much in contention to do so again. He's absolutely ignoring us, and I can't say I blame him, keeping himself very much focused on the job at hand. Door open there for Kane Astin, just letting a bit of cool air in. It's not a warm day today, is it, Scott? But it's amazing how quickly you work up a sweat, especially behind the wheel of one of these things. They're quite physical cars to drive, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And of course, particularly the fact that you're pumping full of adrenaline, as any racing driver would at that point, and then once you get a red flag, you have to sit there and let the come down come through for a few minutes whilst you kind of cool down, and then once you get back going, you're going to try and build yourself back up so you can get back into that mode again. So it's kind of stopping and starting like this doesn't always keep you in the right state of mind. So the drivers who can keep themselves the coolest, not just in terms of temperature, but also keep a cool head, keep calm, get their breath nice and steady, and keep their heart rate down, means that they'll be nice and relaxed when they can get going again, because they can keep focused, make sure they're on the ball, and get going, and once racing is good to go.
There's Jeff Smith, who for a long time was a British touring car racer, and he was, I think, was he wiping sweat from his brow there? What was he doing?
No, I noticed on the roof it said Genuine Jeff.
Genuine Jeff. Fair enough, that's an apt nickname, I'd say.
I know there was a particular Jeff fan club that we used to follow around Jeff when he was racing touring cars. That was quite a thing. And hopefully it still exists, because I'm sure they're following him whilst they're doing things. There's Colin Peacock, who is one of the most vested people who looks after Mini 7 Racing Club, so he does quite a good job in keeping everything together and races himself, which is good to see. And then further back you've got the number 24 lined up, which is Steve Yule. Started actually 15th, and he's come across, I think, somewhere around the top 10, which is good progress in the opening couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. Great looking cars, these, aren't they? Good to get an up-close view of the wheelies. You can see those flared wheel arches, which I'm not convinced serve any great purpose, other than the fact they hide what are much wider tyres than would be standard on a classic Mini, and they happen to look quite good as well, don't they?
I imagine they probably have widened the track a little bit on them as well, because they're obviously wider Minis in that sense. There's not standard width on a Mini,
no.
So it's good to see. It means they do sit with a really nice, cool-looking kind of, almost like squat stance when they sit down on the suspension. So it's a really good look to see. And of course, this championship's been going since, I think, towards the end of the 50s, in terms of it's actually the longest kind of one-make kind of like spec championship's been going, I think, at least in UK, if not Europe, I think, if I'm correct. So it's good to see that the classic Mini still gets as much of a life. There was obviously plenty of them made, obviously, in the hundreds of thousands, but the fact that several of them still get a racing life in Mini 7s, and it's still as popular as it ever is, the fact that they do still get a BTCC support slot at least once a year, typically, just shows how good entertainment they are. And typically, in some cases, people can come away from a BTCC weekend, with respect to touring cars, saying that outside of touring cars, these races, whenever they join them, are their favourite race of the weekend because they put on such great action, and you never know who's going to come out on top on circuits like Thruxton or even here at Snetterton.
Yeah, absolutely so. And the good news is we get to enjoy that quality of racing again in just a few moments' time, because as you can see, the cars have been released behind the safety car. We are doing what I said it looked like they were going to do, just restart the race behind the safety car. They reset the clock to 15 minutes and 33 seconds, which was how long was left when the race was stopped. And it means that the race basically just continues now from where we were. Although, interestingly, unlike this race that I was referring to from Croft a week ago, we have actually wiped the slate clean as far as number of laps completed. We had a situation there where there were cars that were laps down when the red flag came out, and when the race restarted, they were still laps down. They just continued from where they were. We have reset back to lap 0, but the clock continues to tick down from 15.5 minutes or so. So I'd imagine 1 lap behind the safety car, and then we should be away and racing with Ian Curley registered as the race leader, although not on the timing screen. There's a bit of confusion here, because I think the timing screen has gone back to the order they were in a lap prior to the red flag, but that's not actually the order they're in. But it will all sort itself out when they come through at the end of this lap behind the Hyundai safety car. And Ian Curley, Rupert Death, Aaron Smith and Kane Astin, those 4 drivers that had pulled a little bit of a break before the race stoppage. They're going to be looking to repeat that. 3 surviving Libras as well at the back of the field. They're going to be worth watching. In fact, 4 of them, technically, because 1 did get back out on track, didn't it? Now, that car would have been a lap down, to my point that I was just making, but I don't actually think he's a lap down anymore. I think they've been reinstated back onto the lead lap, so it's good. Increases the level of competition within the Mini Libra category, having seemingly lost 3 of them on the opening lap. Good that we've at least got 4 still going. Right, lights I think were out on the safety car, so we should be racing again this time by. And yep, car's accelerating off out of the final corner. The safety car is in, and well, look at that for a restart for Ian Curley. Curley with a very healthy advantage, a full second actually in hand over Rupert Death, and that is dangerously close to breaking the slipstream. I think Death, Astin and Smith are going to have to work together a bit here in order to stop the leader getting too far away. Very wide there for Sam Summerhays, who I said would move forward from 10th on the grid. He's 5th already, but was nearly off the road completely heading through Rich's corner. He, though, in that blue number 85 car, I think is going to continue to move forward now that the race is back underway. Curley then with the advantage. Will the drivers behind work together, or will they start battling amongst themselves? At the moment, I'd say they're actually being pretty well behaved. They don't want to let Curley get away.
You really trust racing drivers to work together?
Not really.
Exactly. Case in point. And there's the case in point as well. Aaron Smith up the inside, almost going to give it the inside of Curley. Got sideways in the middle of Brundle, managed to hold on to it. Curley clips the curb a little bit, but immediately goes straight to the inside. As I've said before, doesn't trust going to the racing line because he knows Smith will try and follow him all the way through the bomb hole, as he does in the slipstream. Kane's also paired, Aston's paired off with Aaron Smith, Rupert Death behind him in 3rd place. They're all going to close up now as Death tries to slot in once again. They're almost 3-wheeling again as they really pitch up on their suspension through Coram, and again they'll lean onto the right hand side again through Murray's. Again, they're all 3-wheeling their way through Murray's on the apex, just showing how stiffly sprung they really are. And Aaron Smith has got the best toe possible to close in on Ian Curley. Death is going with them, and Kane's at the back of a huge toe. There's a headlight flash, I think, for Sam Phil Brand, telling Sam Summerhays, get on with it to try and go forwards. They're practically 3 wide again. It's in the middle, Aaron Smith. Death to the outside. It's Ian Curley to the inside. He slots past and holds on. They got 3 wide towards the corner and exited it in the same order they left Murray's, which is extraordinary. Oh, one car's gone over. I don't want to say I don't think it's gone over, but it's car's gone off the road at least. That's on the exit of Murray's as Death again looks to the outside lines, trying to deny Smith 2nd place. It gets blocked off on the exit, and here comes Aston, who almost hits the back of Death himself. All action, and again, we said it before, the harder these 4 fight each other. Look at the 4 cars behind. We've gone red flag again for the 2nd time because of the off at Murray's. I was about to say those 4 cars are fighting so hard. The next 4 cars, which was Summerhays, Jeff Smith, Stafford and Bull and Brown, have all closed in, but unfortunately that's the reason, and apparently being told it has gone over. Of course, the main concern is that the driver's okay. It's 3-2-1 that's gone over, which is Andrew Hack, and he was 2nd on the grid for the Libras originally, so fingers crossed he's alright. We can see him moving, but of course take a check to the medical centre at least as precaution, as they do in any incident, to make sure he's moving around, so at the very least he appears to be on the surface okay, fingers crossed.
Yes, I hate to say it, it was only a matter of time before something like that happened at that particular corner. It's been a big talking point ahead of the weekend, ahead of the season in fact, and little cars such as these, if you whack that curb a little bit too hard, it's not going to take a huge amount for them to go over, assuming that's what happened, but I'd say it's a fairly safe assumption. So the start line marshals spring into action again, and they're going to receive the grid of Mini Miglias before them for the second time, or the third time technically, this morning, and I suspect we will have a similar procedure to the one that we just had. They'll stop the cars in a line behind the safety car, they'll clear the incident away, and then set them back off again behind the safety car. But I would imagine now we're getting into the realms of having to shorten the race ever so slightly. We did start racing this morning about 10 minutes ahead of schedule after a very efficient run through those first two qualifying sessions of the day. So we've bought ourselves a little bit of time there, but race control will be very mindful of the fact we've got a lot of racing to fit in today, and there's always the chance of further delays throughout the course of the day, so they won't want to use all of the time on the restart of this race. The timing screen has reset to 0 for now, but we'll see how much time they give them as and when the race restarts. Now, interestingly, the safety car isn't there, of course, because we just went straight to a red flag, didn't we? It wasn't safety car period that went into a race flag, so they've just stopped them in a line, and we'll see now what course of action race control decides to take. Hearing that the driver is out of the car, it was Andrew Hack, wasn't it, who had the rollover at the final corner. He is out of the car, so he's okay. A bit shaken, I'm sure. It can't be a pleasant experience going upside down in any car, quite frankly. Oh, Tony LeMay's car is off as well. That looks like more of a mechanical issue on the exit of Rich's corner, so they're dropping like flies a little bit in this one, and Tony LeMay will investigate what's gone wrong. The MSV recovery vehicle arrives at quite a rate of knots to tow him back to the paddock area, so that he and the team members he's got here helping him can have a look at the issue, hopefully get it sorted for their second race later on. But there is the reason for the red flag. Good news that Andrew Hack is out of the car. The medical crew are there just to check him over, but they're actually more interested, I think, in how much damage has been done to the car, so that tells me that he's more or less okay. A wry smile on his face there as he surveyed the damage that had been done, and no doubt starts to count the cost. That's a great shame. Never nice to see a car so badly damaged, but cars are repairable, drivers slightly less easy to repair, and the good news is it's only the car seemingly that needs any major attention.
Yeah, agreed. And we can live with a damaged car, but we can't really live with a damaged human being of any kind, so that's the most important. That's why in any incident my first default is always thought is the driver okay, which is the main concern on that side of things. And you know, these might be older cars, but they're built still to Motorsport UK safety standard, as all championships and series have to mandate cars to be. And of course in the regulations they will have whatever roll protection systems or roll cages in these cars that are all have to be mandatory FIA homologated as well. They have to meet world motorsport standards, so if incidents like that do happen where a car does happen to go over, the cars are made as safe as possible. Yes, they're older cars, but they're built to the highest standards when they're put in this specification as much as they can be, given that how old they are. So it's important that there's some very well-versed teams that run cars. It's looking good. Now I'm hearing engines starting up, so looking at a chance to do so. Now we've got a replay here of what happened. This is Aaron Smith, who went sideways. Didn't look he made contact with Kelly, but he got to the point where he got squeezed quite a lot, to the point where he had to hold on. That reminds me a little bit of yesterday in the Fun Cup race when it was Uvio versus Clapper North. It was Farkini versus Abby Eaton, and she got squeezed a little bit on the inside and had to really check up over the curb into that same corner. It was a similar thing where it looks like she went to go side by side as much as she could, and then held on. It looked like a very similar point, but you can see the way these cars properly lean on their suspension going through the next couple of corners, how stiffly sprung they are. And again, just three-wheeling their way with the left rear just lifting up inside to push them through the corner. So good close racing as they're finally gridding them back up again. And this time they're actually, rather than set them off on a formation lap, they're gridding them back up. But in what order, I guess we have to try and figure out, which you're trying to figure out too.
Yes, it's all a bit new to us, this, let's say, this new red flag restart procedure that we saw earlier on. I suspect can only happen if it's a red flag during a safety car period, if that makes sense. Whereas now, because this was immediate red flag, I suppose we go back to a full standing restart. I don't know, we'll wait and see. Good comparison there of the size of the wheel. I know they said they're slightly wider than standard mini wheels, but they are still only about the same size as the tyre on a golf buggy. With yield a little bit more grip, of course. As you can see, they are fully slick tyres, but not massive. They don't yield an enormous amount of grip, and that's just how the drivers like them. They like a car that moves around a little bit, that they can slide through the corners, particularly the high-speed stuff, and it's fascinating to see. I mean, everything about these cars is fairly tiny. I think if you were stood in the pit lane and these cars came by, you wouldn't actually be able to see them going past over the top of the concrete wall, especially when they hug that concrete pit wall on the inside line towards Rich's corner. You can certainly hear them. They're noisy and they're very, very quick in a straight line. These compared to the Mini 7s even that we saw racing yesterday. Rapid indeed. And there you can see my point. You can just about see the roof as the cars go by, and they will be going by, hopefully, at a greater speed than that fairly shortly. 10 minutes will be the restarted race now. We've had the confirmation on the timing screen. It did initially reset to 15.5 minutes, which I thought was ambitious. So 10-minute restart, and it looks as though it's going to be a standing restart when we do go racing again.
Standing starts with Mini Minis are always fun to watch, as we saw the first time. Safety cars are good, but a standing start with Minis will be another run down towards turn one. Now, in terms of the grid, it will be, I think it's pretty much how they, I'm guessing how they were at the time of that red flag, but that restart only had one lap. So how that then plays into whether or not they, in both starts, they haven't completed more than 2 laps. So whether or not that does put them back to original grid spots remains to be seen, because the front row is, well, no, it can't, can it? Because Jeff Smith was on the front row of the grid and Ian Curley would have been alongside him. So in actual fact, it's, Ian Curley's back on pole, so it is pretty much, I think, how they were when the red flag came out. But we've technically completed 3 laps, so
yes,
that's
but
interesting.
Remember what I said, though, they reset the lap counter back to 0. So we only actually did 1 lap of the restarted race. It doesn't really matter because they're not going to stay in the same order for long anyway, does it, in the grand scheme of things? But yeah, I'd be interested, actually. I'm going to have to look up exactly how they work this now that they seem to have slightly tweaked the red flag restart procedure. But this now looks like a full restart. The timing screen is completely blank, so this is your traditional red flag restart procedure. And as I said, the order they started is pretty irrelevant in most Mini Miglia races, really, because halfway around the next lap they'll have completely shuffled around, and it doesn't really matter until they cross the line. Hopefully at the end of 10 minutes of racing. It would be good if we could get a bit of a race in here, because the bit of racing we've had either side of the interruptions has been mightily impressive, with a huge amount of overtaking and 3-wide racing, as we sort of anticipated would be the case. So the grey clouds overhead blowing through. The wind is, I think, largely in the same direction as it was yesterday, as the farmers in the local fields make sure that everything's getting the level of moisture it needs. If it does rain a bit later, they can probably save a little bit on their water bill and switch the sprinklers off. A few times where that's caught my eye over the course of the day, and I panicked thinking that something dramatic's been going on in the background. But you forget what a rural area we're in here in Snetterton, at Snetterton, and it's a lovely place to come and spend a weekend. Great long-distance views for the spectators as well, because it's such a flat piece of land that the circuit's built on. There is a car that, unfortunately, well, it says boom on the boot lid of that car, and I suspect it was a similar noise to that Andrew Hack was hearing a few minutes ago when it went over at the final corner. That's done a fair amount of damage, hasn't it?
It says pow on the side as well, doesn't it? So.
Yes. Yes, sometimes the jokes write themselves, although I'm not convinced Andrew is necessarily going to be in the joking mood right now, so we'll leave that one there. But as we saw, he was absolutely okay, and that is the main thing. The car then will be out of harm's way within the next couple of minutes, or hopefully less than that, and we'll get the cars out onto a green flag lap before a standing restart over the 10 minutes. And like I said, hopefully we will now get the full 10-minute restart duration in. Ian Curley and Aaron Smith back on the front row again. Here engines refired, so I think that means that the drivers have been given the signal that a restart is imminent. And who is going to come out on top in this race? Will we get a third different winner from the first 3 races of the season? I wonder. Aaron Smith and Sam Summerhays, the winners last time. Now, Summerhays, I would argue, is possibly the biggest winner out of all of this, because he should be restarting 5th if they're restarting in the order that they were running at the time of the red flag. But no, he's not 5th. Sam Summerhays, yeah, Summerhays is back to where he originally qualified. So I think they've gone back to original grid order. by the looks of it, because Sam Summerhayes was definitely running 5th at the time of the red flag, but I think is about 10th on the grid again.
But if that's the case, then Jeff Smith should be on pole. He was fastest in qualifying.
Ian Curley was fastest in qualifying.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yes.
No, I was looking at as a result from qualifying this one. It was an amended one from yesterday, and it said Jeff Smith was fastest.
Pass. The grid sheet I have says here, yes, car 46, 5-place grid penalty.
Right, okay.
There we go. I hadn't scrolled down far enough, and Thorburn Aston was put to the back of the grid because he hadn't qualified. But yes, a 5-place grid penalty for Jeff Smith. Don't know why, but 5-place grid penalty, that makes sense then, because that would knock him down to 6th position. We were both right, Scott. I like it when that happens.
It's not often.
No, it's not often I'm right at all, I can assure you. So there we go. So that makes sense then. So we're back to original grid positions. I don't really know why, because we've had a full restart since then in a completely different order, but that's where we're at, and Ian Curley gets another bite of starting from pole position, and poor Sam Summerhayes has it all to do again, but has the pace to do so. We saw that from the initial start to the race, and Sam will be hopeful that he gets a good start and makes some early progress. It's going to be difficult though, isn't it, from 10th on the grid to get in amongst that lead pack over now a much shorter race.
But it's not impossible given how these cars move and how these cars run, so it should be pretty intriguing to see how he does that. See some aggressive weaving from side to side, which given they are quite small boxy cars, I've seen before with city cars as well, where they tend to kind of aggressively weave too much and the thing can start swinging like a pendulum from side to side and eventually end up facing the wrong way. But again, these do sit quite low in their suspension, they're on slick tyres, they do sit quite squat with a lower ride. As you see, they even barely reach the top of the pit wall with how tall they are not. But yeah, this should be fascinating racing given some of the drivers coming through. We've seen a couple of drivers in that first start properly. They were coming through and making 4 or 5 spots up in the first lap. So a good start, as is ever, is always a good thing. But a good start is one thing, but then maintaining those places and making up more spots, that's another, because you can make up 5 or 6 spots, but ultimately, not to sound obvious, but if you can't then make up more spots than there, it's kind of for nothing. Yes, absolutely so. You've got to try and tag along with the lead group. But we saw on the restart earlier on, Ian Curley nailed that restart. He had a 1-second lead when he crossed the timing line at the restart of the race. By the end of the back straight, he was almost losing the lead to Aaron Smith. So you can catch the group of cars ahead quite quickly as long as you position yourself within the slipstream. But that is going to be easier said than done, I think, from too far down the order. Drivers then making their way through to the grid. You can see some of them continuing to just weave around and others accelerating and braking very heavily. You sometimes generate a bit more tyre temperature through slamming on the brakes aggressively than you do weaving side to side. Weaving side to side tends to create surface temperature on the tyre, but stamping on the brakes, that generates core temperature. The brake pads and discs get so warm, and that has to go somewhere, dissipates out into the rubber and warms the tyres. So that's why you see drivers sort of almost look like they're brake checking each other. I wouldn't recommend doing it on your daily commute on the roads, but on a green flag lap here, it's standard procedure, particularly slick tyred cars. That's generally what you see drivers tend to do. Right, take 3 of this Goodyear Mini Challenge supported by Mini Spares Mini Miglia race. It is Ian Curley and Aaron Smith back on the front row. We've got 10 minutes to try and sort this out, and fingers crossed we get through the 10 minutes incident free, and hopefully with some more great racing. The back couple of rows of the grid on position. I think I can just about see a green flag waving there at the back of shot, and the red lights will illuminate once again. Who's going to get into the first corner first then? Red lights go out now, and Ian Curley launches off the line reasonably well, and he got a really good start the first time round. Yeah, the second phase of the start, once again, he's able to clear the cars around him. Here comes Kane Aston to the outside, the grey and yellow car, and the 46 machine of Jeff Smith, who's up there into 3rd position, I think, by the time they exit Rich's corner. Great 4th position, for Jeff Smith. Really good start that, though. Better than his first start. The one who's struggled is Rupert Deeth. He's down into 5th place as they round the Wilson hairpin for the first time. Sam Summerhayes has gained a bit of progress in the blue number 85 car as well. They're all cleanly through. They head onto the Bentley straight for the first time. Curley weaving to try and break the toe, but already a slightly different picture at the front of the field. Here we go again, weaving the snake as we go from side to side. Again, Kelly's not comfortable on the racing line. Here comes Ken Aston darting out to have a look, and then Better give it just about, I think, almost 3 abreast in towards Brundle Nelson to kick things off. Back towards the complex they go. Curly from Smith, and then from Kane Aston. Little tip of the curve from Curly. Got wide, and there goes Smith, who immediately darts to the outside line because Curly is going defensive again. Nose to tail through the bomb hole for the first time. Literally latched onto the rear bumper of the number 2 car. Jeff Smith is up there in 4th position. You've then got just behind him in P5 and 6 is then Rupert Death. And I'm trying to work out who the orange car is just behind as well. I think that's 5, isn't it? It's Bull and Brown, I think, possibly. One of the 2 will turn in through Murray's for the first time. Again, 3-wheeling, but looks like Smith is a bit more on his toes on this start as he was towards the end of that opening lap in the second start. As they come up to the pit straight for the first time, under racing speeds for the 3rd time on this start, Curly leads the way.
Yes, he does, but by less than a mini length. In fact, they're side by side now as they head towards Rich's corner. Smith to the outside line. Does he go right round the outside? Yes, he does. Look at that. Full commitment. A lot more momentum, of course, on the outside line because you don't have to tighten the steering quite as much. And that puts Aaron Smith back out in front. So it's Smith, Curly, Aston. Jeff Smith then in 4th position. No relation with Rupert Death and Phil Bull and Brown. It was in the orange number 5 car in 6th position. Summer Hayes 7th. Colin Peacock 8th. Elliot Stafford 9th. Nick Paddy in 10th position. Steve Baker, by the way, leads in the Mini Libra class in the 115 car from Hugh Turner, who is the championship leader in that category, heading to Snetterton. Well, another straight, another lead change, and Ian Curley drives straight past Aaron Smith. There was no contest there. In fact, Smith's going to be 3rd, maybe 4th by the time they reach the left-hander at Brundle. Aston comes through into 2nd. Smith will hang on to 3rd ahead of Jeff Smith in the all-white car in 4th position, but that was a great example of that powerful slipstream. It's a headwind again, as it was yesterday, down that Bentley straight, and that just exaggerates the slipstream effect even further.
Makes it even stronger, doesn't it? And so you see here just on a one-wide, a little deeper through Coron, but he carries the momentum enough to swing it back to the racing line to flick left through Murray's again. Here comes Smith back onto the tail of Aston to try and reclaim 2nd place as then they come back up the straight. So Jeff Smith has now got himself slotted in now, of course. The man he qualified fastest yesterday, then was given a 5th-place grid penalty. Death is coming with them. It's almost 2 by 2 down towards Richie's corner on this 3rd lap, and Aston's going for the lead as Smith did last time by. Gets the push from Smith as he goes there. Smith tries to shoot the gap between the top 2, finds his way blocked. It's still with side by side on the exit, and Kane's Aston's not giving it up that easy. Smith has got himself latched onto the tail of Smith. He's now trying to put himself alongside Aston. Aston leaves the door open. Smith goes back to 2nd place. Death then tries to get 4th from Jeff Smith and gets blocked out, or doesn't, because he managed to go side by side. Also now latched into now is Sam Summerhays past Phil Bull and Brown's bright orange machine. And there's a 1 car, I think that's Sam Summerhays' car smoking. But he's kept keeping his foot in, and he's not actually using that much pace. Well, whether he's realised there's something wrong with that number 85 machine, it is starting to smoke now as they come back towards the complex again. It's almost side by side, but Smith takes the lead. So as they come through, as Joe Thompson's in the pit lane with problems, but it's all action at the front, and there's still only 6 minutes in the pit to go. Yeah,
that Summerhays car has been smoking since the restart, but it does seem to be getting a bit worse now, I would argue. I don't think it's dropping any fluid, but it's still burning something that it shouldn't be, and that's going to be of some concern. If it's burning oil, hopefully it doesn't run out of oil in the next 6 minutes or so. They slide their way through Coram Corner with Aaron Smith once again back at the helm, but is he going to stay there? Who knows? Ian Curley didn't get a great exit from the last corner there, so Kane Aston, I suspect, will be challenging for 2nd place by the time we reach Rich's corner as we approach the half race distance of this 10-minute shortened restarted race. There goes the leader. And it's, what, about a 9-car lead pack. The top 9 cars covered by just 3 seconds then. And Ian Curley not able to challenge into Rich's that time because of his poor exit from the final turn, but he's well back within striking range by the time they reach the Wilson hairpin. And I suspect another lead change down the back straight is very much possible.
I think anything's possible in these cars given they are so back and forth. Back onto the Bentley straight now once again under racing speeds. Aston now in this order, but you can almost guarantee they're not going to stay in this order by the time they get back towards Brundle and Nelson. Let's see what happens. Again, Smith holding the inside line, not looking to keep the race line because he knows he's got to give the space to Curley, and going around the outside is tough. Aston gets the toe from both of them. They are going to go 3 wide, or at least Smith's been shuffled down to 3rd. Aston thought about going around the outside in towards Nelson for the lead, but Curley's gone back through the clip of the curve. Smith is in there to try to get himself alongside Rupert Death on the exit towards the bomb hole. It's the black number 1 Mini of Rupert Death versus the 46 of Jeff Smith, and Jeff has got through, and despite that smoking, it's not slowing down Sam Summerhays. He's also going to the inside to try and pick up Death and pick off 6th position if he can. Also in there too, as they're leading through, we've got Bull and Brown also seeing that the red and blue car of Elliot Stafford in 8th position has joined in. So we've got an 8-car train with less than 4.5 minutes to go, and there's still no guarantee yet as to who's going to come across the line first.
No, absolutely not. What it does seem to me, though, is that if you're the leader going onto the Bentley straight, you will almost always be 3rd third by the time you reach Brundle and Nelson. That's happened 2 or 3 times now, so you don't want to be the leader going on to the last lap. Where do you want to be? Well, at the moment, everyone wants to be second. Kane Aston and Aaron Smith banging doors. That brings Jeff Smith into play. Rupert Death is the black car on the outside line. There's a yellow flag on the exit of Rich's corner. Not entirely sure why. I'm not entirely sure anyone spotted it, really. Yes, there's a car, I think, in the barriers again on the inside, on the exit of the turn. Either that or it's pulled over on the exit of the first corner. Jeff Smith there, flashing his lights angrily. I'm not entirely sure what that's achieving, Jeff, but it's certainly catching our attention. He's right in the slipstream now as they head down the Bentley Straight and towards the braking zone at Brundle. Curly, the leader. Is he going to stay there into the braking zone? Aaron Smith feints to the outside but can't go through.
Oh, I thought they were going to go 5 abreast for a second there because they're really closing up in one huge tow with the top 5. Somehow Curly's disproving your theory that he stayed in front.
What do I know?
what do either of us know? We're just commentators. In terms of through the bomb hole once again, 5 of them packed together. Sam Summerhays leads the next pack, which has got Football and Brown and Elliott Stafford that are falling backwards. Just over 3 minutes to go. And Smith now has found himself back into second place. In towards Murray's again. He's close as he wants to be. Gets a good exit. That's as close as he's ever been off the pit stretch. He will almost certainly have enough tow to go forwards. And I noticed last time by, Kane Aston looked to go to the inside, found a car to his inside for second, actually had to back out of it and take a second bite at the apex to turn in. That's what put Jeff Smith alongside him. Death gets the run on both of them. He gets blocked out from Aaron Smith. Looks to shoot the gap in the middle. Smith goes powering around the outside for the second time in this race. And does take the lead, question mark, because Curly's tried to keep momentum on the inside line. He stayed there. Death continues to be blocked out. Jeff Smith's back up the inside to attack Kane Aston. They're all over each other. Summerhays is closing back in from 6th place backwards. As they come onto the straight, it's anyone's order, but it's now Curly's turn to lead again from Aaron Smith second, Death in third, Jeff Smith up to 4th, and 5th now is Kane Aston from Sam Summerhays. That car's still smoking, but it's not slowing it down one bit. Whether that's, I want to say maybe overfill on oil or something like that, but even so, it's not slowing him down or causing a problem. In fact, he's going for 5th on the outside of Aston, and there's a change to the lead again because round the outside for the second time in as many corners goes Aaron Smith to the lead with 2 minutes to go. This is getting tense.
Yeah, we're getting to crunch time now, aren't we? The next lap will be the last one, so you've really got to try and position yourself where you want to be. Aaron Smith has obviously decided he wants to lead and try and get away. I'm not convinced that's going to happen, but he's going to give it a good go. Jeff Smith there nips to the inside of Rupert Death for 3rd, although Rupert's going to try and hang on around the outside at Coram. That's brave. There's not a lot of grip out there. You can see the car fishtailing around, and in the end he has to bail on that. So Jeff Smith just sort of picking his way through towards the front. This is as high as he has run all race long, but they've just lost a little bit of touch with the race leaders, and Death is not going to work with Jeff Smith. He's going to pull back to the outside, so a good chance here that the top 2 could start to get away. The final lap begins. Ian Curley goes to the lead. Was that tactical from Aaron Smith, do you think?
I think it's just him wanting to lead full stop. He's not bothered that much too much. He's been able to defend as much as he can, but he managed to pull off what Aaron Smith couldn't quite because he had to wait for a couple of corners to make that move stick as Sam Summerhays just arrives on the inside of Rupert Death at Montreal Hairpin, bangs doors and panels with him, and somehow the smoky Summerhays has gone to, you should call him Smokey actually, Sam Smokey Summerhays, because he's got himself up into 4th. The chance he can still get a podium here if he plays his cards right, but there's a lot of going on here, and they've all broken up a little bit here on the exit because Jeff Smith is going 4 second on the outside of Aaron Smith, so it's Smith versus Smith. Curly's broken away by about roughly almost 3/4 of a second or so, but he's being left alone here, which is going to possibly kill the chance of killing these. So I think at the moment, unless they repack up, and I think it was contact before, and Summerhays might go to 3rd if he gets a run here on the exit towards the bomb hole. Kane Aston there as well. He goes to the inside, but Summerhays again throws a block. It is frantic stuff with 2 corners to go. I'm not calling this. It's anyone's guess here because even though Curly's still leading, he could still lead the loser lead by the time he gets to the flag. It's that close still.
Yeah, it depends if Smith can get within the slipstream coming off the last corner. I'm not sure he's quite going to get there, but it could be a close run thing. The time is ticking down to 0. It's just going to run out, is it, by the time they get here? We nip and tuck this, actually. Is the checkered flag ready? Yes, it is, and it is going to be waved for, by the looks of it, yes, Ian Curley, who flashes the lights in celebration and wins the first race of the weekend for the Mini Miglias, with Jeff Smith second, Aaron Smith third, and Sam Summerhays just missing out on the podium in the end, but thankfully the car kept going right to the end of the race. Kane Aston was 5th ahead of Phil Bull and Brown, Rupert Death, Elliott Stafford, Colin Peacock, Steve Ewell to complete the top 10. Amongst the next group of cars should be our Libra class winner, and it should be Steve Baker who claims the victory in that class. He had a decent little lead, and yes, there he goes. Second will be Hugh Turner, so good points scored for the Donington Park race winner. But Ian Curley played that one to perfection. I thought maybe when Aaron Smith was overtaken by Curley at the start of that lap, Smith was tactically dropping into second place. If that was a tactic, didn't work, did it? Because Curly's ended up hanging on to the flag. He wins then and becomes the third different winner from the first 3 races of the season. Jeff Smith carved his way through the order late on there to finish second, ahead of Aaron Smith in third. Sam Summerhays and Kane Astin complete the top 5, ahead of Phil Bullen Brown, Rupert Deeth, Elliot Stafford, Colin Peacock and Steve Ewell. Rick Turner was 11th, ahead of Sean King, Damien Harrington in 13th and Matthew Ayres in 14th position. 15th place then was our Libra winner, Steve Baker, ahead of Thorburn Astin, who we'll see back out again in the BMWs before too much longer. Paul Cobbing was 70th, then it was Hugh Turner, second of the Libras, Nick Paddy and Julian Proctor, who gets himself onto the Libra class podium. We lost Phil Harvey, unfortunately. I think his was the car that had pulled over at Riches late in the going and led to a brief yellow flag area there. And it was Joe Thompson then who retired to the pit lane. So, heading to the pit lane now.